We hear all of the time about how AI is going to revolutionize medicine. It promises this incredible future where diseases are caught sooner and diagnoses are pinpoint accurate. It really feels like we're stepping into a sci-fi movie. But as hundreds of these brand new AI tools start flooding into our hospitals, we have to ask a really important question. How do we actually know they work? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the FDA's approval process for these amazing, groundbreaking devices. Just take a look at this chart. It shows the number of AI and machine learning devices getting the green light from the FDA over time. And what you're seeing isn't just growth, it's an explosion. Since about 2016, the number has just gone vertical. To put that in perspective for you, between 1995 and 2015, only 33 of these devices were approved. In 2023 alone, 221. This technology isn't on its way. It's already here, and it's in our healthcare system right now. So, where's the epicenter of this AI earthquake? Well, it's pretty much all happening in one place, radiology. A staggering 76%. That's more than 3/4 of all these AI medical tools are designed to analyze medical images. We're talking X-rays, CT scans, MRIs. And it makes sense, right? These are basically visual data puzzles, and that's a perfect job for an AI. And look, the promise here is incredible. This wave of technology is supposed to make medical diagnoses faster, way more efficient, and of course, more accurate. The dream is to give our doctors a powerful AI co-pilot, something that can help them spot things the human eye might otherwise miss. But that brings us right to the heart of what we're talking about today. With all this amazing speed and scale, with hundreds of new AI tools landing in our clinics and hospitals, how can we be absolutely sure that they're safe and effective for every single patient, every single time? Well, the secret to all that speed is in the regulatory pathway that most of these devices take. It's a system that's definitely designed for efficiency, but as you'll see, it raises some pretty serious questions about the level of proof that's required. The key to this whole thing is something called the 510K clearance pathway. Now, this is a streamlined process. It lets a new device get to market fast, not by proving it works from scratch, but by showing that it's substantially equivalent to a device that's already legally out there, what they call a predicate device. And this difference is absolutely crucial. The 510K pathway, on the left, it's all about being similar. Think of it like a software update or a patch. The other path, the much tougher one on the right, is called pre-market approval, or PMA. That's for the really high-risk, brand new stuff. That's like building a whole new application from the ground up that needs tons of clinical trials to prove it's safe and effective. So one is about similarity, the other is about proven performance. So which path do you think most of these new AI tools take? Well, the numbers are pretty stunning. An overwhelming 97% of all AI and machine learning devices authorized by the FDA get cleared through that faster 510K pathway. We're talking nearly all of them. Okay, so this heavy reliance on being substantially equivalent leads to a pretty startling discovery when you actually look at the data. And this is all based on a systematic review of these devices that was published in JAMA Network Open. So it really forces you to ask this question. If all these tools are getting the go-ahead just because they're like older tech, what level of actual real-world clinical testing are they getting before they end up in a hospital helping a doctor analyze, say, your medical scans? All right, get ready for this. The answer is just 29%. Only 29% of these radiology AI devices had any data from clinical testing included when they were submitted to the FDA. Let that sink in for a second. That means for more than 2/3 of these tools, they were approved without a single piece of new clinical performance data. And if you dig in a little deeper, it gets even more surprising. Remember, these tools are designed to assist radiologists, to be that co-pilot, and yet only 8% were actually tested with a human in the loop, that is, with a real radiologist, to see how things actually change in a real-world clinic. And this might be the most critical number of all. Only 5%. Just 5% underwent prospective testing. This is the absolute gold standard for clinical trials, where you design a study in advance to test a specific outcome. It's the highest level of evidence you can get, and for these AI devices, it is incredibly rare. So these aren't just numbers on a screen. What does this huge evidence gap actually mean for your doctor and for you? Well, those statistics represent a very real-world risk. Let's take a look at the consequences in the clinic. The researchers who did this study put it in a very academic way, but let me translate. Heterogeneity in performance raises questions about clinical generalization. What that really means is an AI tool might work great for one super experienced radiologist, but not actually help a less experienced one at all. And without the right testing, it's impossible to know how it's going to perform across different doctors and different hospitals. And this really spells out the risks. First, the performance can be totally unpredictable from one user to the next. That can lead to serious diagnostic errors if the tool isn't vetted properly. And maybe most importantly, the burden of figuring out if a tool actually works gets shifted away from the manufacturer and onto the individual hospitals, who often just don't have the time or the resources to run their own rigorous trials. Now, if we look around the globe, we see different ways of tackling this. The European Union has taken a much stricter stance. They're requiring more monitoring after a device is on the market, and they're classifying a lot of these AI tools as higher risk. The result? AI device approvals in the EU have actually gone down, but the number of real, peer-reviewed studies on them has gone up. They're demanding more proof. Here in the US, the FDA is moving towards tracking devices throughout their life cycle, which is a good sign, but it's a different approach. So where does all this leave us? Well, the path forward isn't about stopping innovation, not at all. It's about building a much, much better foundation for it. It's simply about demanding better evidence. Experts are pointing to a few key solutions. First, hospitals need to have much stronger systems in place to evaluate these tools before they even think about buying them. Second, we can adopt frameworks that don't just look at safety, but at the actual clinical and economic value a tool brings. And finally, all of us, doctors, hospitals, and even patients, can start demanding more transparent, peer-reviewed studies from the companies that make these tools. Because at the end of the day, the goal here isn't to be anti-technology. Far from it. It's about making sure that the incredible promise of AI in medicine is built on a foundation of solid, reliable evidence so that it actually helps everyone, every single time. Which leaves us with one final crucial thought. We've learned that hundreds of medical AI tools are being cleared for use based on their similarity to older technology. But the question you really need to be asking is this. When it's your health on the line, is cleared really the same thing as proven?